I just need to have a vent, right? And keep in mind, I haven't seen my psychologist yet. That's not for another couple hours at the time of filming. Um, Also, I've been told by at least one well-meaning friend that when I complain about these things online, apparently I make people feel less like they want to work with me. But I mean, we'll get into that. Like, I'm just being honest. The people who watch so I think the context of that advice was when I post things to like Instagram or Facebook. But most people, I don't think they even see that. But even less people will see my YouTube, so I can vent probably a bit more honestly on YouTube. Especially if I bore you all with a long intro before I actually get to the point. But also, the people who bother to watch my YouTube, I think get it. They're a bit more forgiving of my mental health issues if they bother to watch me here, and are also present in my real life. And, realize that it's just me having frustrations, but it's not like I'm going to, I don't know, do anything differently. I'm still gonna make an effort when it's important to. And sometimes I'm just going through shit, and it's okay to talk about it. And, I don't know, maybe it helps you understand me a bit more. Maybe it also helps you realize what I put up with, that I just let you do. And generally don't cause issues about, and I'm going to continue to not cause issues about in real life because I'm not a confrontational person and I'm not particularly assertive in real life. So yeah, practically doesn't really change anything. It's just things that go through my head and things that frustrate me, and it's okay to be frustrated by stuff, and I shouldn't have to keep things in all the time just to keep everyone else happy. I keep everyone else happy enough when we're actually dealing with each other in real life. So let me have an online vent, and try not to treat me any differently just because I was honest about things that affect me. Make sense? So, just as a quick recap for those who are not familiar and somehow got here by accident and are like, what is this bitch talking about? And not getting to the actual point. I have schizoid personality disorder, which, long story short, I don't like people, I don't like the world, I don't like much of anything. I'm a bit more expressive these days compared to your average schizoid. Most schizoids don't do YouTube. They just lurk in the comments, if they even bother to leave a comment at all. And yeah, I don't have the normal emotions that other people do. I have a lot of depression that goes along with my schizoid. Not all schizoids are aware of being depressed. I am. That's probably why I try hard to change enough to try and make my life not suck. But the things that this is... A lot of schizoids are in denial about the fact that their disorder is a problem. And that's what this video is. Not because I think that the way I am is healthy, but because I think the world genuinely sucks. And as much as I try to give it a chance, it just keeps reinforcing my opinions about people in the world. And, like, what is the point of all this? If you want me to change, like, I am doing the work. But I need a little bit more from the rest of the world to, prove to me that you aren't shit. I mean, is it really a disorder if I'm right? Maybe that's the title of this video. Is it really a disorder if I'm right? If people are going to keep letting me down, if the world is just crap, if life is meaningless? Is it a disorder, or am I just seeing things as they are, and it's everyone else who has a disorder in the fact that they're okay with this? Now, granted, I'm aware, being schizoid, I don't have the full emotional range. For whatever reason, I don't experience good, happy feelings. It's rare for me to feel anything good, and when I do, it's rather muted. I can tell other people feel good things much more strongly than I do, and for me, it'll be some mild passing thing if I'm lucky. A lot of the time I just feel neutral, and then depressed. I kind of only have neutral and negative modes, and then the slightest bit of better feelings. And I've been trying to focus on feeling the better things, like noticing when I'm feeling better things, but my psych diary is mostly full of apathy and negativity. And I'm trying. Okay, yeah, sure. A lot of it is probably childhood trauma we've worked out. There may be a small bit of genetic predisposition because, you know, a lot of people go through trauma. Not everyone ends up schizoid. They end up with some other issues. So, yeah, there's probably some genetic component to the way that I am. But there's a lot of, you know, the world sucking, my upbringing being difficult, and not realizing for ages that my upbringing was difficult. That sucks too, because I spent way too long thinking, like, why do I just hate everything? Oh, you know, I've made other videos about my trauma. I don't think I have one that goes into a deep dive, but there's at least one that, you know, touches on the main things. And, you know, the problem is, to recover from trauma, you kind of have to get away from it, but I'm still stuck in this world. And okay, what's the specific shit that has prompted me to go on this vent, rant, ramble, whatever you want to call it? You know, I've been making an effort to reach out into the world. I've joined the clubs. I'm in the local art club. I'm not expecting a huge amount out of that, so that hasn't disappointed me because, you know, I just didn't have any hope for it anyway. But it's kind of fun to turn up and people thinking I'm younger than I am, and just sort of, yeah, making everyone go, what the hell is going on here? That I would happily hang out with much older people. But no, the thing that's bothering me, like, you know, with the social stuff, I'm trying not to hate people, and I'm trying to, like, be more open, and I think I've always had that kind of thing, like, you know, being a little bit optimistic and forgiving and trusting, because, you know, if I meet people, I don't automatically think negatively of them, I don't automatically think positively of them either, but I will be polite, and when I was very young, I was more shy, but, you know, I'll be polite to people, I'll make conversation, you know, it helps if they make conversation back. There are some very socially awkward people who you try to talk to them and they just don't give enough back to have a conversation. That's their own fault, it's not my fault. But, you know, with other people, you know, you can get into a decent conversation, but, for example, I'm not going to pick up certain cues. I can pick up the basic stuff, but what struck one of the recent incidents, and this isn't why I went on this rant, but we might as well touch on it, is just like, I'm not romantically interested in anyone. So it doesn't occur to me that when I'm talking to someone, their partner might feel threatened by me. And that explains, in hindsight, why they were showing the person I was talking to stuff on the phone all the time. I thought it's just because they were busy. You know, I get it. And I also get that people will just be on the phone these days. People are rude. They don't have that sense of etiquette to just put away your phone when you're talking to people. And, you know, don't have a sense of etiquette to not interrupt things and whatever. But, you know, I was just having a friendly conversation with someone and their partner was sort of half in the conversation but was scrolling the phone a lot, so of course I'm not going to talk that much to you. But yeah, and then that person got the person I was talking to block me. This is all in the music world, and you know, they both asked me to follow their pages, which I did, and then yeah, the one that I was friends with on Facebook blocked me, and the only thing I can think of is there's some kind of weird jealousy thing going on there, and I'm like, I'm schizoid, I'm the last person who is going to steal your significant other, but whatever. So there's things like that I won't pick up, because I'm not a flirting person, so I don't even know, like, it's just not something that would occur to me for people to be insecure about. But anyway, no, like, you know, I got myself off topic, didn't I? No, what? Okay, I mentioned music. The music is the thing that bothers me the most. Because music is the main social world that I've moved in. You know, before I joined the music world, I kind of did keep to myself most of the time. But going to a show, like, you're around people, but you also don't have to talk to them because it's loud, so you can't even hear what the fuck anyone's saying anyway. And then a band goes up, and you can just focus on the band. If you want to get away from a conversation, just go up and watch the band, and people get it. Without you seeming overly rude. And then, you know, other things with my brain that aren't much of a thing at the moment. One of the things that got me into music is, you know, this sort of split in my brain, where one part of me was interested in that as a way of expressing some darker shit, but it's just less of a thing for me these days. So I'm kind of losing interest in music. But one of the other reasons I'm losing interest in music is because anytime I try and start a project with people, I feel like they just let me down. And, you know, whether it's full-on projects or whether it's just, like, people who meet me in the music scene and want to hang out, but then they don't look at their fucking messages. And so I'm like, should I make time in my calendar for you? Or should I just wait for you to, like, you know, and there's only so many times you can follow up. But no, with the music projects, like, there are so many cases. I think the worst one for me was AD Destroyer, because I really liked that project. It's just like, the guy disappeared. I don't know where he is now. And we were gonna do stuff, or he told me we were gonna do stuff. Like, we were gonna play live, we were gonna make a music video. The fact that we even released our music at all, the only reason we released our music is because I was joining another band and I wanted to tie up that loose end, and I'm like, hey, when are we going to release this stuff, instead of constantly remixing it? And I don't know, maybe I was finally assertive enough to give him the kick up the butt to finish that off. But I had wanted to gig for years. I think one of the reasons I recovered from depression for a bit, not permanently, but like at the end of 2017, 2018, I went to Japan, and that's when the depression I was in at the time lifted. And I think it's partly because, well, I was out of the country, away from Centrelink and other stresses, and, you know, I was on a hunt for gothic clothes. But the reason I wanted gothic clothes, and this is before my punk rave collab and all the money I've spent since, but the reason I wanted goth clothes is because I thought I had a music project to come back to. I thought we were going to get gigging. I thought we were going to get serious. I think our material was pretty much all written by then. And then just nothing happened for years. And I even turned down projects because I thought that project was about to happen, and it just never did. And is really disappointing. So yeah, I did feel let down by that project. I don't think he can get mad at me for saying that. I get it, he has his own issues, and he also had like other projects, and clearly our one wasn't important enough. I just wish he had said so, like when I followed up saying, hey, are you still interested? And he's always like, yeah, I definitely am. Don't bullshit me, just be honest with me. If you don't care about it, just say so. Don't keep stringing me along. And the thing is, like, I'm not interested in flirting, but in a lot of ways, trying to work with musicians is like dating. Like, it's the closest that I will do to dating these days. I did try dating back when. I've had a few relationships. I didn't feel anything. Music is a better option for me. No, I didn't feel anything. Asterisk. I was also dissociating at the time, and I could also be in denial because Schizoid will do that. It doesn't want me to believe that I have any feelings. Yeah, no, so music. Like, you have to work with someone fairly closely, and you're creating something. It might not be a baby, but it's a music baby. And I wanted to get on stage, and I had the motivation at the time to want to be on stage, and it just never happened. And all the work that I put in, and opportunities I didn't take, and space I made for that project, and, you know, it sucks. It sucks to work on something for so long, and then to wait for things to happen, to follow up. At some point, like, I get it, I should follow up on things, but I've already done that. And there's only so many times you can follow up before you should take the hint that the other people don't give a shit. So, you know, it's just really disappointing when you have a project and you've done your part. You know, I've done my vocals. I get it. I get it. The people doing the music side, it's, you know, you could argue that it's more work. I have done the music side myself. Then again, I'm not natural at the music. I'm more of a math science brain, so it takes me longer to make the music than it takes other people to make the music, because it comes to them just naturally, like they can just chug out some stuff. But then, I don't know, they get bogged down in the details or whatever and don't keep me updated on what's going on. Like, I get it if people need more time, but I would also like them to communicate that with me. Keep me in the loop. Make sure, like, just tell me that you're still doing things, that you're still interested. I don't like the uncertainty and not knowing what the fuck is going on anymore. Like, is this project still happening? I don't know. And I'm at that point where people can tell me that a thing is happening, but if I don't see evidence of it, I just assume it's not. And I think, like, the sort of schizoid brain and whatever, I think that might be why I'm losing interest in music, because I'm constantly being let down. Like, the schizoid personality disorder likely happened because of childhood trauma, where I was constantly let down, wasn't made to feel valued enough, maybe felt forgotten, or like my contributions weren't appreciated or whatever, and my needs not really met and all that. And so I'm assuming, it's hard to look back in time. Hindsight's an amazing thing, but your memory also isn't perfect. So this is what I'm guessing happened. And over time, after being let down so much, your brain is just like, okay, that hurts too much. Let's not feel anything about people. People aren't important, because if you make people important, they just let you down and make you feel shit. And I think I'm getting that way with music and music people, because there are so many times people have contacted me saying, yeah, I'll send you some tracks, and they never do. And people who've wanted to work with me, and then particularly if they're a male, they'll turn around and be like, oh, by the way, let's go and see a movie. And I'm like, I'm not here to see a movie. We're not dating. I just want to make the fucking music. Send me a fucking track so I can write the vocals for you like we discussed. And just never happens. And there's only so many times I can follow up, and especially if it's not a project I was that interested in and you were acting like I was doing you a favor, and then you just don't ever get around to it. Yeah, it's shit. And so when that happens over and over and over and over and over and over and over, the music, being involved in music hurts too much, and I just lose interest. I don't believe you anymore that anything is actually going to happen. And it just it becomes impossible to care, because if I care, I'll get hurt. I assume that's how it's working. Yes, I do have the depression, and depression does steal your enjoyment of things, and so maybe because of depression, I'm not capable of giving a shit about music, but I also suspect it's the social component. In the cases where I've tried to work with people and they just keep letting me down, it's like, why should I even bother? And the other thing about music is, like, what I used to like performing, but you have to talk to people about that. At the very least, talk to a venue and try and get a spot, but you can also talk to bands and try and organize something together. And I've had a few cases where people are like, yeah, let's do a gig together, and then I just never hear anything again. And it's like they expect me to always be the one organizing stuff. So I've organized plenty of gigs, but being given a gig in return, it doesn't happen that much. And it's frustrating. Like, I can't always give. I'm tired of giving and giving and giving and giving. It would be nice to get something back now and then, right? Now, I am not, like, there's been positive things. There are times where, my old band was given gigs, so that's nice. But it's not by the people that I would have thought would have appreciated what I did for them. It's from other people who liked our stuff and gave us a chance. Like, those people are so important. The ones who don't expect anything in return and who will just give you a chance as someone who's much further down the ladder. I guess maybe they've been through the same shit and realize how hard it is. But it sucks when your peers don't appreciate you. And, I know I appreciate those bigger acts who gave us a chance. It's just like, I mean, they've gotten successful, so it's easier for them. But when you're struggling to get anywhere, it does get tiring. Like, there's only so many times I can do it and be taken advantage of, before I'm just like, you know what, I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm not going to organize gigs anymore. Now, also, one thing I'll admit is I haven't been trying hard enough to get gigs, because one of the ways I could approach venues and be like, hey, if you need a band or a lineup, I just haven't done it. And I think it's partly because I've just stopped being able to care about getting gigs. Like, it's a bit of a bug in my brain, like an annoyance, but as time goes on, I just stop giving a shit, and I haven't even been practicing my material, because I don't know, I need something outside myself to give me some believable hope. I think that's a problem. Like, I've just gotten so jaded about everything that I can't self-motivate. I need someone to give me a decent chance to make me feel like, that it's worth doing. And yeah, just not given a chance. Like, there was even one dude who does give a chance to a lot of metal acts, and I explained, my music's not exactly metal, but my vocals are, and he was positive about that. But when he found out I was a soloist, wouldn't have me because it's too much like karaoke. And I'm like, but I'm not karaoke. I actually, yes, it's just me and a backing track, but I actually perform too. I have choreography, I headbang. Even when I was in a band, most of my bands, like, the other people just stand there playing their instrument. They're not the kinds of ones who will headbang. I mean, we did in the girl band eventually get one chick who was amazing at that stuff. But for the most part, especially early on, the rest of the band just standing there, and I was the one having to perform and, like, which you have to do as a front person, but there was a lot more pressure on me to do it, knowing that everyone else is just standing there like a statue. So, even if I had a couple of backing musicians, if they're just like that, it's still boring to watch. The difference is my performance. So yeah, that was a bit shit to be turned down by that guy. And just because I didn't have one extra musician who would have made no difference to my act. So that sucked. Missing out on that sort of opportunity just because of the way that I made my music. And I don't know, with my solo stuff, like, yeah, you don't have to rely on those people who keep saying they'll send you tracks or do whatever. Yeah, with the solo stuff, it's hard to self-motivate. And I don't know, I'm so tired. I keep trying. And, like, even just hanging out outside of music, hanging out, I mean, there's some people I can't really hang out with because they're just not my kind of person. I can't hang out with them one-on-one. Like, maybe if we're at a gig, we can talk, but I don't want to hang out with you one-on-one. But for the people I do, I would be okay hanging out one-on-one. A lot of the time, they let me down too, because, like I said, they say they want to hang out. I'm like, okay, when do you want to hang out? You just never get a fucking answer, do ya? So, I get it. Not everyone is as chronically online as me. They're busy, they have lives, they're not checking their messages all the time, they're not checking social media all the time, they probably have too much going on with social media. But, if they've said they want to hang out with me, and I'm pretty sure they give enough of a shit, why can't they scroll through those messages, find my one, because they should be expecting a reply? Like, I'm clearly not a priority, and so then I lose interest in hanging out with you. Yeah, like, it's just, I'm trying. But, and like, yeah, I don't have that much energy, but there are some people, if I'm going to make space for you to hang out with you specifically, and then you just drop the ball, like, maybe hanging out is nothing for other people. For me, it's kind of a big deal. And I think the people who want to hang out with me know that, because everyone knows that I have severe mental health problems now. They know I'm not a social person. So you'd think they'd appreciate that if I'm going to hang out with them at all, it's kind of a big deal. But no, they just keep screwing with me. Yeah, and so, like, people are just heaps disappointing. I'm trying so hard to give people a chance, to be forgiving, to be patient. But people just keep proving me wrong, you know? Like, or proving me right. They're proving the psychology stuff wrong, that I should give people a chance. But they're proving my instincts right, in that they're not worth the time, they're just more stress than it's worth. You know, why bother hanging out? Why bother waiting for them to send me tracks to do music to? Why bother waiting for them to do what they said they would do in music? Why bother following up when every time I follow up, there's enthusiasm in theory, but not actually in practice, so I can't believe anything they say anyway, if they even see my messages in the first place and bother to reply to them. Like, if you're trying to work with someone, wouldn't you check your messages more? Wouldn't you check in more? Why, like, you just disappear for months at a time and expect that the project is still going, that I haven't moved on? Like, why should I pause my life because you can't get on top of shit? There's just... like, why am I bothering? Why am I trying so hard to be more open to people? Like, is it really worth the effort? Is this really a disorder, or is it just that people suck? Like, you know, if you send me a message, as long as you're not that guy who constantly says hi and nothing else, on, like, you know, don't just send me a message if there's nothing you want to talk about. Be like, hey, here's a thing that reminded me of you, or here's a thing that I thought you'd find interesting, or I don't know, something, instead of just hi, and then I reply hi, and then you reply some bullshit like how are you or whatever. I mean, how are you is not too bad, because some people do check in on me, but sometimes it's just meaningless messages, and it's like, you started this conversation. I'm not going to sit here pulling teeth just to get something interesting out of you. Like, you know, if you start the conversation, don't expect me to carry it. So there's that side of people as well, that's annoying. But as long as you're not that guy who only sends hi and then nothing else, I generally respond. And as long as you're not too annoying or creepy, I will happily keep the conversation going. Although there's a point sometimes where I just don't have time, because there's some people who think they can monopolize my time, which is usually, like, the people that I know in real life aren't like that. It's usually some parasocial YouTube commenter who's tried to message me through some other channel, and then it just goes on and on. It's like, you know, if I answer all your stuff, I might, like, you know, you're kind of just getting your own private YouTube video, which isn't fair on everyone else. The people in real life, though, like, you know, if we're actually trying to organize something, or just stay in touch or whatever, like, if you send me a message, generally I'll reply at least once, as long as there's, you know, conversation worth having. I'm not that unapproachable. I gotta say, another thing that weirds me out, though, is that people like me, and I don't understand why, but then they'll let me down anyway. So maybe they didn't like me that much, but they act like they like me. People don't make sense. While I'm here, another thing that annoys me is, like, you know, the people who show concern for my mental health and are like, is there anything I can do? And, you know, they say that, but I know that they're not actually going to help that much. Like, you know what would be helpful? Is if you could get me a gig. I maybe need, like, at this point, probably 2 weeks notice, so I can do enough practice to be ready. But, yeah, if you could get me a gig, that's one way you can help me. Also, if you can do the things that you say you're going to do, if you say you're going to organize a gig, actually fucking do it. Or if you can't, like, I get it, because life comes up. If you can't, just tell me. Just be honest. Hey, I can't do that thing anymore. Don't just let it trail off and then I'm left wondering, should I follow up? Or am I just going to annoy them by following up? How many times should I follow up before I should take the hint? Like, maybe they just can't tell me that they're not interested. I mean, probably they've forgotten, but, you know, there's only so many times you can follow up. What was the other thought? See, you know, if people message me, I'll message back. If they try and organize something with me, cool. But if there's some reason I can't do something, I generally tell people. I think the only time I didn't is because it wasn't actually my decision. It was like a group thing. And so it wasn't just me that couldn't do the thing. But I felt like we should have replied out of politeness. But it wasn't my call to make. So yeah, in every other situation, if like, you know, I've had people, there are some people who have sent me tracks, but it's not actually been the music I was looking for, and I've given it a go, but then I've been like, you know what, it's just not going to work. And so I will send them back saying, hey, I've had a closer listen and it's not going to work out. You know, my voice isn't right, or it's not what I'm into, or whatever. I'll at least tell them. I don't just leave them hanging wondering what the fuck. I don't leave them not knowing, because like, what if they've kept that spot open for me and they're just wasting their time? Like, in the same way that I don't want someone to do that to me, I don't do it to other people. I will tell them if there's an issue, or if I've gotten sick, or if I've, you know, my mental health has gone spazzy again, I will say so. Can't people just tell me back, like, tell me if you're busy? Just give me some sign that you still give a shit. Although, like, you know, there's a point where you make too many excuses, and I'll be like, yeah, okay, the thing's never gonna happen. But, you know, if it's just, like, a small thing, don't, like, you know, so I try not to blow things out of proportion, but there's a point where if you just don't get the information you need, you kind of have to assume the worst, that whatever it was isn't happening anymore, you know? Yeah, so I'm just kind of disappointed in people, because there are good interactions sometimes, but they tend to be the ones that are less meaningful. You know, like, someone will do something nice for me once, and then they forget that I exist. And it's not like the meaningful ongoing stuff, like getting a music project going properly, or, you know, maintaining a friendship by actually looking at your goddamn messages and getting back to me when you're the one who asked for a thing. You know, like, if I've said, yeah, I'll do that for you, the least you could do is, like, acknowledge it so that I know I still need to do the thing that I said I would do for you. You know, if the ball's in your court, what am I supposed to do in the meantime? Just wait around forever? You just want to put me on pause, put me on the shelf until you're ready? Another thing that annoys me is people who only talk to me when they want something. I'm not going to name names, but there is one person who frustrates me. The thing is, like, even if you only talk to me because you want something, if I'm in an okay mood, chances are I'm going to help. And even if I'm not in a great mood, I can't help it. I'm a helpful person, I guess. Maybe sometimes, like, depending on what it is, sometimes it's the problem-solving aspect, and I'm like, oh, gee, I wonder, and so I'll look up the thing for you and figure it out for you. Which, you know, that's probably why I'm easy to take advantage of in those ways. But yeah, no, it pisses me off when there's people who only give a shit about me when it's convenient to them, when they need something. But what can you do? And yeah, so, and just like a bit of a vent, I just needed to get some shit out there, because I'm trying not to hate people. I'm trying to get through the misanthropy, and the apathy and hating the world, and don't get me started on the way the world is right now, like, but I'm trying to do the things, I'm trying to get out and about. I'm also trying not to burn out at the same time. Like, that's the problem. I could step up and do all the music stuff, and same thing I did with Rainbow Death Ray, just take responsibility for everything. I could get back into organizing all the gigs, writing all the music, doing all the promotion, doing all the recording and editing and production, and getting CDs made, and getting things up on Bandcamp, and registering with fucking APRA so we get our royalties, and registering with AMRAP so that our stuff gets radio play. I could do all that. But I also Like, that's how I burned out and ended up in one of the worst depressions I've ever had. And I'm just I'm just pacing myself these days. I'm a bit more aware of my limits. So I can't do all that for everyone anymore. You've already drained from me as much as I have to give. So, you know, I'm making an effort, but within my limits. And, you know, what I really need in life is for other people to step up and fucking help me for a change. You know, this is the thing, schizoids are self-reliant, probably because we can't rely on anyone else, because people suck. Like, how is that a disorder? How is that illogical? If you're constantly being let down, you kind of have to do shit for yourself, because no one else fucking will. And I'm the one with a disorder. And these disorganized people talk bullshit. And what? I have a disorder for hoping that they'll actually do the things they say? For being disappointed when they don't? Fuck off, hey? I just needed to get some of that off my chest. And if that means people don't want to work with me, fucking fine. I'm the one who's reliable anyway. You're the ones letting the team down, not me. You know, if you help me out, I will help you out. I've already shown that I can obsessively do all these tasks and, you know, figure out how do we do all these things. And in, like, every band that I've been in, I end up being the accountant too, because music people don't want to deal with numbers. Well, guess what I'm good at? My parents are finance types. It's in my fucking blood. I have so much to offer if people will just step up and do their part. They fucking don't. They keep dropping the ball on me. So, you know, if you don't want to work with me because I went on a rant about how useless you are, that's probably your problem and not mine. You know, I'm not asking a huge amount. I just want you to do the things you said you were going to do. And then, if I believe in it, and if you've shown me, if you've proven to me that it's worth it, there's so much that I will do. But I'm not going to do it if you keep letting me down. You know, I've finally put up those boundaries. You know, I used to not. I used to put in so much and then feel like people just didn't appreciate it. I'm not doing that anymore. So, yeah, if I upset anyone with this, it's your problem, not mine. You know, if you don't want me to feel that way about you, you need to step up. And then I will do all the things and we'll get along great and we'll have, I don't know, we'll fucking get out on stage, we'll hang out, whatever. But if you keep letting me down, eventually I'm gonna just take the hint and be like, no, fuck you. And maybe that's why I don't hang out with people much, because I just know it's gonna happen. I don't know. But I know with the psychology stuff, I know that I have to get out into the world. We are a social species. It's just I can't find the people who don't let me down. With an asterisk, there are a handful of people, but they're not in my life enough to make enough of a difference. Or like, you know, with my parents, they're trying, but they're not very good at stuff. Mum has still hugged me like every day since my breakdown last weekend. So, like, you know, they're making small improvements. I think that really did freak them out. That was much more dramatic than I usually do. Holy shit. Yeah, that was a thing. I don't think I made a separate vlog about it. I probably talked about it maybe in my gaming live streams. I sort of talk about my days in that lately. If you're not interested in the gaming, bring up that live stream, go into the transcript, and scroll to like wherever I start actually talking about stuff that's not just gameplay, if you want to find those bits of vlog embedded in there. Just as a tip for my regular viewers who are like, why is she doing all this gaming instead of talking about stuff? I am still talking about stuff. But yeah, no, since that breakdown, Mum's given me a hug every day, which is nice. Like, it's a step forward, but it's not, I need more help at this point because I'm so fucking damaged. But yeah, no, making progress there. And also Triton gets jealous. He has real FOMO. But today, when Mum and I had a hug, he just sat and watched. And then we opened up the circle, and then he jumped in to get a hug. So he's getting the idea. He's a very smart dog, you know? Like, he would just bark and jump around us and try and claw me on the back or whatever, but now he actually realized that if he just waits, we'll open up the circle for him. He's a smart dog. Anyway, basically, get your fucking shit together, and maybe I won't have a disorder anymore. Fuck off, guys.